Reed here. How's it going, guys? We're going to have another episode of Narcissism as a Network. Now, I'm on this mission. I think it's time for us to start to really help people understand that these sick people, all of them go by the same playbook. If you know one, you know them all. In order to protect yourself from these sick narcissist, psychopathic, sociopathic people, in order to protect yourself, you need to know the game. You need to know that you need to understand the tools they have and how to use these tools. But it seems as if victims are always, well, the ones with empathies are always unprepared to deal with the sickness that these cunning idiots, these retards, do. You know, Let me give you an idea of if you sort of understand narcissism, you understand these sick people. You look at them and you see they are actually trying to harm me for no reason at all, you know, because their ego is triggered because your light is too bright. And so they want to put you down and want to target you just because of that. And when you get enough awareness where you can see it in real time, you can see how they start off, by saying things that's not true, trying to gaslight you or feed you wrong information. You see them that, when you go someplace new or you go to some organization that new, the narcs are the ones who always try and be your friend first, right? Whereas the healthy people stay back and watch you before they want to get involved with you or have anything to do with you. But the narcs own you first because they have to be the ones that sort of help you adapt to the environment, and they frame the environment for you. And that's where all the sickness starts from there. So let me just go through this and just look at so this discussion we're on is narcissism in the network, is that when that sick narc, psychopath, or sociopath is in front of you, you're not dealing with an individual. You are dealing with a mirror. And this person has been unalived. And they are showing only a reflection of what the real narcissist who imprisoned them in the tomb of their ego. You're really listening to them. That person is simply a periphery of the real narc that damaged their sense of self and holding them forever in this bondage, this psychological prison called the ego. So when you're dealing with someone who's a narcissist or narcissism, remember, you're dealing with that entire network. And remember, they're a receptor to receive your information, and they're also a broadcaster to broadcast it to everyone in that network to keep them updated. Remember, it's amazing how quickly narcs disseminate information amongst each other. So here, narcissism is a network. You're dealing with a group that's after you, not a person. And number two, we're going to look at this concept of narcissistic family structures. Now, narcissistic family structures resemble the same organization as cults. And so we can typically term them as narcissistic family cults. Now, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Right now, the murder rate is significantly high. I would call these black male sacrifices. Over 800 black men are murdered each year, and over 80% of them are cases not even solved. Oh, I think those are sacrifices. I think this is work of these narcissistic families on the south side of cults on the south side of Chicago. Close to 20% of the children killed on the south side of Chicago, murdered, are under the age of 18, something like that. And nothing's done about it. Of course, narcissistic family cults involved in it. The number of young black girls between the ages of 12 and let's say 21 who go missing, where do they go to? And of course, these are groups and organizations that are handling these type of situations, murder, exploitation, death, and things like that. So here, If you're on the south side of Chicago, you have to be particularly careful because if you run into one of these family structures, they have a tendency to attack you in all areas of your life. I mean, these family systems, because you don't know they're attacking at you, they're doing several things. First, all of them are coming around you. Yep. When you are engaging with a narc, these things are cowards. They never do anything alone. They always have someone watching their backs. Why? Because the whole engagement with you is a setup. The whole engagement with you is a setup. These people don't do any, these people are incapable of doing anything that is reasonable. They will never look at things from your perspective because they are incapable of doing it. They are encased within their ego, in tune, and they only see that internal world. They do not have the capacity to look outside their ego. So they never have the capacity to address any of the issues or concerns you have. Olivia, my buddy came. My buddy came. Do you want me to put you on, or you want just audio? Or you just want to listen? If you want to just listen, you can. Oh, your mic. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me. Um. Okay, let me see. Just turn your camera off. You can. Okay, go ahead. Let me see if I can hear you now. Oh nope, girl, I can't hear you.
Oh, you
Oh,
can't.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
I was saying I'm fine even with the camera on. It's okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so how do I turn the camera on? Okay, okay, I got it here. Okay, where am I at? Okay, right here. Okay, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. So this I don't know if you ever heard of. Have you ever heard of narcissistic family cults? Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of it like in terms of cults, but I've definitely heard of like narcissism just kind of passing down through generations and families and from the parents to kids and stuff. So probably the same idea.
Yeah, yeah. I started looking because I deal with this so much. I
Yeah.
think everyone deals with this. I mean, these people are awful. They're awful. But I started to look at them as a system, and these cowards never work alone. You know. And another thing is that they come around you, these family systems, they sort of try to really be your friend. It's creepy.
Hmm.
I want to be your best friend. We're bros, right? And and they're just serving as a function for that larger organization, and they cause so much turmoil. They can cause so much turmoil in your life that they can actually create psychoticism in you.
Yeah,
You got me?
for
They
sure.
we can create psychoticism in you. And I think when I started teaching the hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and all that stuff, that information exchange, I think they simply add as much false information into your hippocampus process as they can. And your hippocampus doesn't sort between what's valid and what's invalid. It just takes it as it is, and it takes those bits of information and sort of renders a reality with it. And so I think through that lying, gaslighting, constantly reframing all this stuff, it creates more psychological emotional disturbances because you have contaminated materials in your brain.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like contaminating the data set that you need to render your reality. Is that right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that like even when you have intimate partner abuse when it comes to being with like a narcissist, a lot of the victims will then go to their family or their primary care physician thereafter thinking that they're experiencing dementia, things like that, like in
Oh,
theory.
yeah.
And it is the total norm because they've been like so reared and trained by this narc to pretty much brainwash them. And if they're not there to tell them how to feel, what to think, and to reframe their thoughts and feelings and emotions, then in the absence of that narc, they're still like confused and wondering if they're thinking straight, if what they believe is real or not. And it just all like turns into a whole blur. So I believe.
Yeah, okay. Remember when I was telling you guys, the thing that these narcs do is when they start off a conversation with you, they got to lie out front because they have to frame it in the way that they want to exploit you. And if you don't say anything and say, hey, I don't agree with that. No, it's not that, it's this. If you don't do that, then they go on already with an understanding that you agree with that.
For sure.
Right?
When you don't explicitly say it.
Okay, yeah. So they reframe the issue a completely different way, and if you don't check them on it, then they assume that if you engage in the conversation at that level, then they go ahead and announce that you already agreed upon their framework. So you can lose the individual argument, but you're still caught within the fake framework that they put you in. These are sick people. I mean, it's levels to the exploitation. The first level, if I don't get you at the first level, I got you at the second one.
Yeah.
Then if you don't fall for it, oh, you see how angry they get and come after you?
So it's like there's no win.
No win with these things, I start calling them things and animals. No, there's no win with it. And so I started looking at the Jackson family.
Okay.
And oh my God, I began to look at Michael different. I began because he appeared to be the golden child within that Jackson family. And I would say in this situation, Joe was the narc. And I believe Joe unalived him. And when I say that, simply destroy this little child's internalized sense of self. And I saw several of the interviews with Michael describing how Joe unalived him, right?
Yeah.
And when I say how he unalived him, I mean that Michael had his true self completely destroyed and annihilated. And it was done through torture, right? Ritualized torture and things like that. And so he never developed the internalized sense of self.
Yeah.
So he always have to look outward to get a definition of who he is and if he's okay. Right.
Yeah. And that's so deep because I feel that it becomes even more critical when it's within a family. So if it's parents down to their children, because I mean, it's already a difficult path for those that have come along narcs once they're grown and mature, whether like intimately in terms of a spouse or if it's in the workplace or friendships and stuff. That alone is like a hard path to come off of versus you're in a family dynamic where it's a parent to a child. Like that child does not yet know their identity. They're still developing who they are in this world. So it's kind of like it's like a puppet on a string.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you look at Joe's behavior and how you see the gaslighting, and I'll go through a little bit for that, but let me just go do this grok here. And then I wanted to put in the definition of more like a narcissistic family cult, a description of a narcissistic family cult. It's not, okay, let me see if I can explain this. Okay, and then I want to look at the roles. And when we look at the different roles, you see how different members of the Jackson families, well, this is my theory. It was like different members of the Jackson families actually meeting the roles as they define the different roles that the people are assigned to within a narcissistic family. So let me see here. Okay. A narcissistic family cult refers to a dysfunctional family dynamic when one or more narcissistic parents, right, Joe and his mom, or dominant figure exalts a cult-like control over family members, demanding absolute loyalty, obedience, and suppression of individual identities to serve the narcissist's ego and needs.
Yeah.
The purpose is for them to take, I describe this will and spoke pattern that narcissists use when they're in organizations and groups where they discourage the communication between each members. Like, you can't talk about them, or you can't say, or they'll report it, right? But every individual has a relationship directly with the narcissist, but not with each other. And that manipulative behavior here, lying on each two people, hey, he doesn't like you, she doesn't like you, and now they're fighting, doing the splitting and triangulation to break up all the relationships of the people so that they don't communicate. And now all the information goes back to the narcissist, and the narcissist forces everyone within that structure to sort of remain silent. But let me go through here. This structure mirrors religious or ideological codes in their manipulative tactics. Isolation from outside influences might describe that. Enforcement of rigid hierarchies. You don't question Joe. It is confined, but it's confined to the family unit. Okay, here. Characteristic: unquestioning loyalty or secrecy. Remember, we don't tell family business. We put family first. You're supposed to be loyal. Take care of your family. Let me tell you about that. I give you, family is what feeds into you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not supporting that internal sense of self, if it's not buttressing it and helping your growth, that's not family. I would say this all the time. Me and a monkey is like 99.9% genetically related, right? But I'm not sitting down with a family of monkeys, even if we came from the same mother, you know what I'm saying? Or if we came from the same grandma, right? I'm not sitting down with I might as well sit down with a bunch of chimpanzees. Genetically, we're very similar, right? Yeah. We have more, so I'll have more of a chance of survival with the chimpanzee than I went with them. You got me? So family is what feeds into you. And then in these situations, you always have to just say, okay, what family? Is this my family or is this someone else's family? No, you are in someone else's family, not yours. And that's the main problem. So you are in somebody else's reality, not yours. Your family is in your reality. And if they're not feeding into you, you may be biologically related, but they're not family. Here, isolation and control. The narcissists isolate family members from external support, right? Control narratives, finances, relationships, and even adult children. Yeah, so the narcissist leader isolates the family from external support, control narratives, finances, relationships, and even adult children lives. This creates bubbles where reality is distorted to maintain power. Remember what these people think in one thing, those people thinking the other. The narcissist is severing the communication and then just playing everybody against each other. Emotional manipulating tactics like gaslighting, guilt tripping, love bombing, withholding affection, keeping members dependent and compliant, fostering a sense of fear, obligation, and guilt. Then look, hidden abuse. This is the major thing here. Emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical abuse. The emotional, all of these tactics the narcissists use eventually result in alienation as the end goal. Right? Alienation. Now, the psychological torment and torture that exists in the state of alienation cannot be that those feelings cannot be dissipated just because you're in the crowd or in close proximity to other people. This is these sick people receive PhDs in the techniques in creating emotional and psychological disturbances. If I do this, doom, it's going to create that. And so they practice it. These sick people practice, but they want the emotional and psychological abuse because it's in another dimension. It's in the spiritual world. That's not the physical world. So you can't call the cops.
Yeah.
Right? It's in a different, you have to call the cops in that dimension, the emotional dimension, in order to deal with this stuff. And to see them in the process of trying to do it, okay, I'm going to lie to him or her, and I'll be standing there watching to look for the cognitive dissonance. And then when they gonna try to hold it back, but I'm gonna know I'm gonna watch them over time, over the next couple of days. Then you can't go to work tomorrow, the next day, or you're arguing with people the next day. But they look to see how effective this disruption of your emotional psychological processes from the background are. They look and check on it, and then try it again for more effectiveness.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And all the while, this is the primary behavior they're doing while they're interacting with you behind your back. But when they're with you, hey, how you doing? I'm good. But all of this, so when they're with you, that 1 to 2% of the time in the day, 24 hours in a day, you with them 10, 15 minutes, they're putting on their performance. But the rest of the day, they're spending all of that time and energy invested in creating that response.
Yeah.
So they don't get anything done when in relationship to you, but they've been really busy.
Mm-hmm.
And they all walk fast. You still all walking fast. You know what I'm saying? Weird.
Right.
Okay. So here, let me see here. Go here. Okay. So look, the narcissist is the leader. Okay, the central figure, often the parent who demands worship and view family members as extensions of themselves or as individuals. I don't know how many times I felt like I wanted to puke in my mouth when Joe said he worked hard.
Yeah.
When the baby said, he works very hard. So Michael Jackson, the child, talking about how hard his father worked because his father had to take care of 11 kids and get his kids out the ghetto. No, you didn't work hard. The kids work hard. You were sitting down watching while they were dancing. you were listening while they were singing. You didn't have to rehearse the songs. You sat there and made them do the work. And why is it that you're the one that's been working too hard all over these years? No, yeah. I think you worked them too hard and you observed it. So I think that's the gaslighting. It's the gaslighting, right here. View the people as extensions of themselves. So I worked hard. No, you didn't.
That's that main character energy.
Yeah. And I tell you, in narcissism, now this is the person you're in the relationship with. When that narcissist comes in front of you, that person has been unalived. They don't have any type of sense of their internalized self, so they're not an individual, right? They are actually a reflection of this narcissist who unalived them. That narcissist destroyed the internal sense of self so much that the person is completely reliant on external opinions to get feedback about themselves. So that means that they have to pursue approval externally constantly in order to not suffer.
Yeah, it literally sounds like that grandiose, God figure, in the sense that when you think of faith, you think that if someone's living, they have a purpose, they have a spiritual purpose. And then oppositionally, there's some force that comes, whatever you want to believe that to be, that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Narc, well, that's exactly it. Their main character, they're that God that you must bow down before and worship, and they literally take everything that you think you are and replace it to tell you who you should be. Again, just an extension of them.
Oh yeah. I think you're also saying they get a chance to live vicariously through. So he got a chance to really live vicariously through Mike, and got a chance to, and I'm going to give you some evidence that process that I'm describing as Mike was a mirror and he was unalived is true. Right? Let me get to these parts first, and I'll show you, because his behavior suggested that he was a mirror, right? And then let me go through here. It's so interesting. So that's Joe right there, right? The narc, and this is the person you really have to be careful for, because whatever opinions that narc has is going to change the reality of the narc you're in front of. So if you are in a relationship with one of these type of people, you're going to notice two things. Number one, when you show them empathy, they unload. Oh my God, it's been like this. My mother, I can't stand her. She's been like this. I can't. It's awful. She always do this, and they start crying and everything. As soon as she shows some emotion, and then okay, I gotta hold it in. I gotta hold it in. You've run across some of those people, haven't you? I mean, you, and then these are the ones that say that you show them on the first date. They tell you everything. These are the victims who finally got a chance to get to some ear outside their coat. And now they're trying to tell you exactly what it's been like. And our society has, and I think these narcissists have groomed our society for us to generally reject that type of person as opposed to trying to get some help. Mm-hmm. Right? So we say, okay, that person is needy, as opposed to, hey, it sounds like you're dealing with a bunch of sociopaths. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful. Here's a therapist that deals with narcissistic family cults and narcissistic family systems, and you need to look there, because I don't see how you're going to date and being in prison and then escaping the date. So that's what you're doing. Basically, if you're in a relationship with one of these people, they're in, and then in terms of the relationship sort of dynamics, everything is in a hierarchy. Everything is not on the same level. So the core of what you will protect is attachment to your group. Mm-hmm. And then up of that, how you're feeling about people. So these type of people, you can have very good relationships with you. They can love you and all that stuff, as long as the narcissist agrees. But then when the narcissist disagrees, then they will quickly withdraw.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not their world anymore. You've been devalued. And so they will lose attachment to the group that the narcissists run if they don't get away from you. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Any thoughts about it? Ring a bell? Anything? I mean, I don't know what, everybody, I can imagine everybody have dating histories with these type of people in the background, and you look and say, oh man, that reminds me of this person. Another thing you'll notice is that when you go around these type of families, they don't like you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. And it's just so interesting to see how a person can easily get captivated by this stuff if they don't know what it is that they're facing. Because I mean, you could easily go on a first date and this whole emotional dumping that they're doing, like, oh, I've been through this, I've been through that. A person that's unsuspecting can look at that same thing and be like, wow, like this person's so open, so forthcoming, so real. What you see is what you get. Realizing that this is a huge red flag, like you have not yet earned their trust and stuff like that for them to be dumping all of this on you. Like, it's so uncanny and untimely. Not realizing that it's probably connected to something a lot deeper than that. And when I think about the typical things you'll hear, monster in law and all this stuff. But I mean, these families, these cults, it's literally the ones that you see where those mothers are enabling, or those fathers are enabling this son, daughter, this child that's terribly out of line, but they're like, this is their golden child and they're enabling it. And it just, yeah.
It's nuts. Let me show here. Here, we're getting here, the enabler.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on for a second. I got where's Joe Jackson at? Here's a video I have for Joe. Okay. Joe looked like he didn't play though. Joe looked like he didn't play.
Michael was growing up, he didn't call you Pa or Daddy, he called you Joe, right?
And he didn't allow us to call him Daddy. And I wanted to call him Daddy so bad.
See, let me tell you something. It's important that you get this. This is very important that this is. Okay, these narcissistic, okay, okay, listen, my area especially is the South Side. Okay, so I'm talking about Black narcissistic family cults on the South Side creating all the stuff that you're seeing here that's out of proportion. Um, um, what's my point? Oh, these are not families, right? Families feed into you. These are handlers. It's a difference between the two. These are not family members. Like if you're a family, then you're my son, I'm your father, right? You're my child, I'm your dad, and stuff like that. Why they say daddy? I don't know. You know, these people. These people. Uh, I'm your dad, right? However, handlers separate themselves emotionally from it. They don't give them the type of emotional comfort that builds the sense of self, right? He denied him access to the intimacy of a father. He's just Joe, meaning I'm a manager. So remember those families in Hollywood that basically give their children over to the industry for opportunities? I think Joe Jackson saw this talent, and this all it was exploiting his child for the opportunity. So, in my opinion, Joe Jackson was a handler, not a father. He didn't want to be a father. He was a handler. This was a golden ticket that if he manages well, he'll be rich for the rest of his life. And he got there. I mean, he was taking care of it. He didn't have to work when after his son turned like 6.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm not daddy, I'm Joseph to you," you know?
You see how he said it? You're not my daddy. Like, it's insult. You're worthless.
You wanted or because he was so respectful? I mean, how?
Well, I didn't too much care because he knew and I knew that he was my son and I was his father.
Well, he didn't answer the question. That's what narcs do. He was my son. It didn't answer the question.
Had all those kids running, hollering.
See, the question, remember what I'm going to saying, there's two worlds, two really realities that everybody's saying that share the same environment, but everybody have their own reality, right? Remember when I keep forgetting, every time I get a point at him, I keep forgetting it. Let me go. I keep forgetting this one point.
And I'm like, dad, you know, it gets to be, sounds kind of funny to me, but.
Dad sounds kind of funny to me, right? And this,
I didn't care too much about what they called me, just as long as they was able to listen to me what I had to tell them. You know,
I didn't care what they called me as long as they obeyed, right?
In order to make their life successful.
And then he throws his own disclaimer. I did this in order to make their lives successful. All right.
The main thing. What I got.
Oh, here's another thing. You see the differences between fathers or family members and handlers, because a narcissistic parent is a handler. They're not a parent, they are handlers. And they intentionally damage their children, just like Joe did. He intentionally damaged his sense of self and purpose. That's why it's strategically missing throughout all of his life. It's the only psychological component that Mike had that wasn't present. It's his own sense of self, right? And they express themselves in a commentary like speech. It's lack of emotions. We're talking about a young child, and we're talking about the pain of a young child, but his speech lacks the emotional sensitivity, the emotional language, or even he doesn't even bring up the suffering or the impact that this stoic type of stern punishment had on this little child. It's not even entertained at all. It's not even entertained at all. It's just about his process of structure and function, right? Sick.
I got a Michaelis when he was small. This when I was getting his allowance, he have these kids sitting around feeding him. You know, he loved to help. Now, he can't say no. Anybody wants something from him, he would give it to them and cry later about it. But
now listen, so this child, when there's one video when Michael Jackson described him oiling him down and taking an extension cord and beating him everywhere over the face, the back, the head with an extension cord. And he described it as a ritual. I'm trying to find the ritual, and on his face, you're gonna see his description of this description of a victim, and I would say at that age, maybe 6 or 7 years old. So, and when you take your things and you don't have the boundaries, or you just give them over to people and then you cry, it's that learned helplessness. If I don't give in to please that external facing structure, then I don't exist. And so the only way for me to feel better or to exist is by giving all my things away.
Yeah.
And this is the suffering of a child. And that torture was so complete that it didn't seem as if he had any resistance to him, even as an adult. Dealing with some of the challenges of people's egos always targeting him and the impact their egos would have on him. He couldn't tolerate it. But it's sad though, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so
Michael was growing up, he didn't call you.
Let's go. Okay, here, the enabler, typically the other parent or spouse. See, y'all be getting on Joe. I'm the first to get on Catherine. I'm the first, and she's the main one behind the scenes. Who supports the narcissist by excusing their behavior, enforcing rules, minimizing abuse to keep the family intact. Right? So I think I have one on her.
In the meantime, I'm going to try to plug in. I'm seeing 1% left on this phone.
Girl, how you come on a guest with a podcast, only 3% on your phone?
Oh my goodness, I heard the topic and I had to hop on, not realizing. 1 second.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Catherine, okay. Look at this. Being a brave mother for Michael. Let me see what she's saying here.
And so when Latoya came, she kept going back there too. I said, "What are you all doing back there?" She said the children are hugging Michael and kissing him, and he was dead. They were still doing that. You didn't want to see Michael, not that one.
Oh, you know what? That's another thing that's awful about this. After he passed away, then they brought his children in to see him and saw him in a distressed state. This network of people is still using this opportunity to traumatize the children even further and destroy their sense of self even further. There's nothing that these adults would do to protect any of these children around them from this severe damage. And I can't imagine anything as cruel as that for you to see what appears to be something like what you're saying is your father who don't look nothing like you, who's dead in front of you. This is awful. I mean, these people are.
Why, my goodness. When he was young, he was to temptation. That was true. Oh, stop.
Now, these type of narcs, these enablers, these are the ones who will call your doctor, who will call your therapist, who will call your attorney. These are the ones who will call your job, who will call your employer. There is nothing that an enabler wouldn't do to sabotage what you're doing with that system. They're going to do everything to protect that system. Makes sense? They're going to do everything to protect that system.
There's layers to that.
You still fixing your battery?
No, I got it now. We're good to go. We're on 4%. We're moving up.
We can cancel the show. We can cancel the show because your battery. All right. So yeah, so when you dealing with a family, this enabler, it always appear to be kind, always appear to be gentle. They always appear to be loving, right? And then the children will see the disabler and the enabler, and they'll run to the enabler because they're playing the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you are in a situation where you're parenting with a narc, right, and you realize you're in the network, when you try to go to court or when you try to get help, this network, what is that? What is that? Let me turn your microphone on.
Okay.
What is that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing some kind of a beep.
Okay, I'm just put it on mute for a second, and just unmute it when you want to talk. Can you unmute it? Yeah. Okay, just unmute it when you're talking. Okay. So parental alienation. You know, when the narcissistic parent turns the child against the healthy parent, the child has to reject the healthy parent because the child does not want to deal with breaking away from a family structure. They all let the child know, hey, if you don't reject your parent, then we're going to target you in the family. So the parental alien. So if you are a parent dealing with some of these narcissists, even if they're siblings, they go behind your back and they damage your children and they threaten, harass, they stalk your children, and they basically force your children. They basically force your children into some form of submission, you know, and during this time, the child has to reject absolutely everything that's connected with you. Now, this is very dangerous because when you go to court, they get court orders, valuations, and then the enabler comes in and, oh my God, they've been like this for a while and all lovey-dovey and things like that. And they're all lying, you know, and they're all lying. And the court system does not have a way to handle this type of behavior. So they always try to trigger a legal case or try to get you in court because that's the location where they can create the most psychological and emotional turmoil. And they have no concern about the child going through this. They forcing the child to reject a loving parent is similar to forcing a child to cut their arm off and choose between two parents. And the parental alienation and the parenting custody is so challenging because our healthcare system and our legal system really doesn't have a way to deal with these type of issues that these sick people intentionally bring to the conversation. So they are damaging your child and traumatizing your child and destroying your child's sense of self so that your child does not have the strength to reject them because they represent the external opponent of the child's ego. That's why they operate as a group where you're as one. So all of the impact of multiple adults zooming in on a child, framing reality, the child is going to go where all the crowd is going. And when everyone says something's wrong with your parent and things like that, then the child has to reject the parent. And so, Olivia, what we've been doing in our platform, Genesis.ai, our private healthcare system that we're putting together is designed to manage systems.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you can calculate all this stuff. You can just get a form and list what everybody's doing and everything, and then at the end of it, sign it and put an amount and tell them to take it to court, right? You can deal with these things. The only thing that makes these things difficult is just you don't know what's actually going on behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, I was thinking about this today. I was talking to somebody about this today. I'm not sure if there's anything in this environment that causes emotional, psychological distress to this extent besides those group of idiots.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way they trigger emotional, psychological distress, if you've ever had times that were very difficult for a period of time, it's them.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever had periods where you just exhausted, you can't think, where you feel like you can't make it, you feel you have, it's them.
Yeah.
They're doing things in the background, So the enabler here. So this is Catherine's the enabler. Okay, now the golden child. We know who the golden child was, right? A favored child who receives praise and privilege for complying, look, and mirroring the narcissist's ideals, but at the cost of their autonomy. When I began to think of Michael Jackson in terms of the golden child, and the mechanism is to destroy the sense of self. You destroy the sense of self. The ego has two components. When you're born, you don't have an internalized ego yet. You don't have an internalized sense of self. You grow, and your ego is formed by all the opinions, attitudes, and behaviors of all the people around you, your family, your friends, your schools, your culture, your community. All those things sort of form a cluster of rules, an index of rules that you can sort of live by, right? And so Joe intentionally destroyed his internal sense of self so he can be completely reliant on his external ego. Means he has to always seek approval, meaning he has to always perform in order to feel well.
Yeah.
To do that to a child, to damage them to that extent where they will have to do the behavior that you want. You're a little puppet and Pinocchio, right? Little puppet and stuff, and then you pat them on the back and things like that. But let me give you an idea of this, the golden child and Mike. Let me try to here. And I think Mike describes the process of him removing his internal sense of self.
How often would he beat you?
Too much.
Would he only use a belt?
Again, remember, Mike is regressed. He's significantly regressed. And what happens is that you sort of stagnated at the level that you matured. And so if he got to the level of a 6-year-old or 7-year-old and he was tortured mercilessly, like he said, too many times to count, then he will never. He may never that degree of torture. It may be very difficult for him to develop an internalized sense of self, and therefore he would always have to look externally to the crowd or to the audience for him to feel normal. And these torture sessions, what he describes. Oh, this here, he's doing the hide and seek things that young children do. And it helps me understand how severe his torture was and how much he went through, because he's displaying the behaviors of a 6 or 7-year-old. And from developmental milestones, let me see, when does the children play hide and seek games? Let me see. So it's like, You're at the developmental age where if you see something, you cover it up, it disappears. And because it disappears, now you can get some relief of the thing that scared you. Right? Let me see here. Oh, 2 to 3 years old. Oh, look at this. By 4 to 5 years old, they can play more structured hide and seek. Okay, from 6 to 8, children refine their skills, choosing clever hiding places and using tactics like misdirection and staying quiet. Wow. And he broadcast this defense, not even at the level of an 8-year-old. I would say he's regressed down here to 4 to 5 years old, because this isn't a clever hiding place. He's hiding during the interview. He's hiding behind his hand. Oh, this is awful. I don't want to make light of that. This is awful. This is Michael was a very important figure in my life growing up. I mean, he was just exceptional, and I can see why. I can't listen to his music like that the same, particularly his childhood music. You know.
Do you remember any time in your whole life when you weren't performing? Well, not really, no. We've always performed, yeah. Even when we were small kids, yeah. My mother.
Even when we were small kids. That's that compulsiveness. That's the, Joe Jackson remind me of the pimping game, where they destroy the person's internalized sense of self, and then they need to be approved them, and they go, okay, work the track. And then you see victims who are forced into this lifestyle just having 10, 15 sex partners a night.
Yeah.
And then compulsively every night. Remember Diddy and his pattern of behavior with Cassie was Backpage and pay for a sex worker every weekend for like 10 years, through infections, through injuries, through sores. They still got to get it in compulsively. And it sort of reminds me of that in this regards.
Making my bed one day, and I was singing. And she said to my father that I could sing, and he didn't want to hear of it. He said that Jermaine's the lead singer, not Michael. My mother said, Joe, you really should hear him sing.
That's Jermaine right there.
He can sing. He goes, no, Jermaine's the lead singer of the group, and that's it. She forced him to listen to me. And once he listened to me, from that moment on, I was the lead singer of the group. Yeah, we weren't wealthy, but we weren't poor. My father always prepared for the family, and as well as my mother. Always wonderful. That's very important. They make sure we, got the right things for ourselves. Strong parents are, I think, are very important, especially in our situation.
Look at the gaslighting. Strong parents are very important, especially in our situation. You're in a situation where you're taking care of the family. You shouldn't be beaten. You should be honored and protected. You should be supported. That's the thing with these narcissistic family cults and things. Anytime you get into something like an organization with a bunch of narcs, they always reverse the issue. So if you're a high performer, they ignore those and make up cluster things about you to sort of devalue and hide your contribution. They do all these sick things like that. And for this psychopath to sort of rewire his children's brain so they look at him as the person who's doing the hard work when he's out here doing all the performance. And then how they danced. I mean, the moves, right? Right. Okay. There was one more thing I wanted to say, show about Mike. I keep. Let's see. Now he doesn't live too, where Michael Jackson lived in Gary, Indiana. It's not too far from here, from Chicago. It's like, I think it's like 45 minutes. Let me show y'all some pictures of, this is what I wanted to show you. I cannot look at his music the same. Because let me show you this, Michael Jackson. I don't want to have any strikes on my channel, but I'm gonna play just a little bit. But this song by Michael Jackson when he was a very young child. The song is called "Who's Loving You," and he sings it like he's an adult,
Hmm.
right? Now it's hard for me to listen to that song from this child, and you sort of understand that he had his internal sense of self intentionally destroyed
Hmm.
completely, to the extent where he almost served as the perfect mirror for the narcissist. And
Yeah.
it comes out in this song when he's talking about who's loving you, when he's a child talking about very intimate adult experiences.
Hmm.
Biologically and developmentally, he's not at the level where he can actually understand what they're saying, but he's mirroring and mimicking everything as if he's really in the situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's too much for you. I don't know if it's too deep for you. I don't know. I don't know if it's too deep for you, but you come to Chicago. This is Chicago conversation, right?
Yeah.
This is Chicago.
I've always loved that song. I've never stopped to think, like, wait a second, this is a child singing about adult, like big grown folk stuff. Like, what do you mean?
And
Like,
how does he? And then how does he do it? And how
mhm.
does he? What? No, oh, and so I don't want to get a and for the producer, cut this off too much. I don't want to get a strike on my channel. I only got like 5 views. But listen, I cannot I cannot listen to this song anymore because this song was produced as a result of the successful torture and unaliving of him and removing his sense of self. And that's how he served as the very clear mirror. Let me just have you guys listen to some of this. Now, understand what he was saying. We had to perform compulsively. We couldn't make any mistakes. This child was already tortured, and this child was forced to perform. This isn't a voluntary performance by a child. This is a child slavery performance. This is a child being tortured with no one in the family willing to speak up and stop it. And he was tortured to the extent where he doesn't have any internal sense of self. So he's the perfectly cleaned mirror for the narcissistic father who's now mirroring his issues with his wife,
Yeah.
right? These are issues. He's singing about issues between Catherine and Joe because they're the mirror. And so I don't see this performance as a performance anymore. I see this as torture, abuse, and this is like slaves getting up slave dancing. This is not entertaining to me anymore because how Joe went about getting this product created. He had to destroy the soul of a very beautiful and talented person to do it. That's another thing you have to be careful because these narcissistic family cults always target the one with empathy.
Yeah.
Right? They always the scapegoat is always the one with empathy, right? So listen to this song and hear his cry, right? This is a child who was tortured. I'm not sure if you guys and any of you out there can take what he took and still get up and have to work. I'm done with it.
Got a voice, Dr. Reed.
Girl, I'm done with it. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. All my old mic stuff, and then I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna take all my collections. I'm gonna drive to 2300 Jackson Street and I'm gonna throw that shit in the backyard. And then I'm moving on. I'm moving on. There's narcissistic black coach watching me everywhere. You know, watching everywhere, but I can't listen to that the same because he had to the feeling in his voice, he had to learn that real pain. Why? He learned it through torture.
Yeah. That is sad for sure.
He learned it through torture. Um, and we're at an hour, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off, cut it off and everything. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? This is a new it's a very interesting subject, and I wanted to introduce it to the South Side of Chicago to start helping my patients and the people I know start to understand. Hey, this South Side of Chicago is a very dangerous place. You know, you have to be very careful when you're in relationships or deal with anything, because if you run into these cults, these family cults, when they attack you, I mean, they do scorch the earth. I mean, they do every conceivable awful thing to you, but they all do it in secret, so you don't even know they're attacking you. Right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's a really tough nut to crack, in the sense that for the normal person, what we've created, what we've built, we appreciate. Where we've invested time, we've invested energy, we value and we appreciate, for the normal person. Now, if you
Yeah.
think that narc with that fragile ego, it's one thing to deal with one stand-up narc, but when it goes as deep as like a family tree, generations going back, it's like the moment you insult that first line, that child or whoever you get in a relationship with, or whatever the case may be, and they were like trained and manipulated by a parent, a grandparent, going all the way back. It's like their ego is so fragile that if you've insulted that child of theirs, you've also bruised their ego too,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
the failure of their child or the insult to their child is also an insult to them, because they've
Hmm.
like manipulated, created, handcrafted
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the easiest way. So I feel like it is a very difficult nut to crack and a very dangerous place to enter.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on my podcast. I appreciate it, Doc. I appreciate everything, and thanks for your input and stuff. So, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day today, and I think tomorrow I'm going to do my next. I think I'm gonna do the series maybe on Latoya Jackson. Latoya Jackson. Yeah, uh, Latoya Jackson. Latoya Jackson is the scapegoat, right? She blames everything in the problem. She's a real people down. She sees the dysfunction, and so she started telling on Mike, and they came after her, you know. And then the lost children, the other world's lost children. It seems like you know, you also had you had Jermaine Jackson marry the his okay, Jermaine and Randy shared the same woman. First, Randy's had two children by this woman, and then broke up with, and then Jermaine was having an affair with her for like 3 years out of it, and then she left Randy and went to Jermaine, and they got married and stuff. It's like family incest. You know, it's like this family very poor sexual boundaries and things like that. You know, so the next episode I'm gonna go through those type of relationships and things like that. And I think I'm gonna try to just present a really interesting argument about that. The first family of R&B, this legendary family, was actually a cult, operating as a cult, and that's it's very interesting to look at these terms. Okay, but thank you so much. I'm sorry, you want to say anything else?
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Like, I heard the topic and I immediately was like, I have to join this, even with a phone that was on its way out, battery dying.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. Talk to you again. Okay, hey guys, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Read out. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a nice day. Take care, guys.